This is a Predator 212 right here. I saw on YouTube that there's no legit video how to take it apart. So this is kind of a step-by-step how to take it apart. So let's start from the simple things. The whole engine is basically simple. This goes for all basically clone engines, for Hondas, for most engines out there. This is a Chinese clone, and anyways, also most bolts are in here on metric. Only, yeah, they're all metric. You could use 1/2 inch right there. Anyways, yeah. So first, before you start out on all this, pour out all the oil. They ship it with some oil in it, just so it wouldn't rust and all. Just if someone wants to spin it through, just so it would have lubricant. There's a little bit of oil. Take all that out. Okay, let's start by taking out the simple stuff. Basically exhaust, the intake, and the gas tank, and that'll free up the whole engine for space. These are 1/2 inch right here. 1/2 inch or 13 millimeter. Really comes off easy. The gaskets are reusable, as this engine is completely new. Comes straight off, and the gasket is on there. So what you want to do is take a razor blade and just carefully slide that off. And it's basically like that. And here's the gasket. Put it back on with the nuts. That will stay on there until we put an aftermarket exhaust in there. So now with intake, this comes off here like that. Stock air filter comes off pretty easily. I'm going to take these off with some metal cutting scissors. Throw that away. This really easily comes off, just like that. All these parts, they're all, you can sell them if you're not going to be reusing them, or reuse them. They're all, this is off of a new engine, completely new out of the box, so I'm just going to be using other parts. Take that off with pliers, needle nose, whatever you like. For the airbox to come off, there's two 10 mils. And it just slides off like that. Space is freed up, and now governor linkage. On here, the governor will be removed. So that's why I'm removing everything to do with the governor. And the carburetor is going to be reused, but I'm removing it for now. Fuel line off of the carburetor. And it just slides off like that. And governor linkage, and now just let the linkage hang like that. Now we're going to take off the gas tank. So the gas tank is being held on by two nuts on one side and one bolt on the other, and they are 8 millimeter bolts. Those are actually 10 millimeter. Little rubber, I guess, bushings you might say, or little things to dampen vibrations. Don't forget those. Put them back on with the nut to not lose them. They're important. Now the fuel line is being held by that side. Just take that off and it will all slide out like that. Now that everything is cleared up on this engine, we'll be removing the governor. But do not remove the governor if you are not planning to put a billet flywheel, billet aluminum lightweight flywheel, and a rod, billet rod. Those are the first things that get destroyed. I mean, your engine will fly apart, not fly apart, but it will just get destroyed. So next is the governor arm. Loosen that bolt, you don't have to loosen it completely. And then just stick a screwdriver in between those two joints and just make those split up so you can take it off. There you go. And it slides right off. Make sure you keep all the springs that are needed for later purposes. Now, what needs to come off is this flywheel cover
Holy thing.
Whatever it's called. I forgot. I just blinked out. Doesn't matter. You guys understand what it is. Standard 8 mils there. Not standard. Metric. Whatever. Put bolts back into where they went. That way you don't forget which ones go where. Although it is a simple engine, there's not many bolts. And you know most of the sizes go where, but just... Now for this, there's a little clip here that holds everything, all these connections together. You can just take a screwdriver and pry that plastic clip open. We only need one disconnected to take it off. Take off this cover. And there you go. That came off. Yeah, I'd say you could have done this a long time ago, but I choose to do it now. Just remove the spark plug. You have to have a special spark plug socket for that. If not, just be careful, because these special spark plug sockets have rubber on the inside to protect the ceramic on that spark plug. Protect it from cracks, which then might cause the spark plug not to fire. Completely new, we will be replacing that also. So now what needs to come off is the flywheel. Off the flywheel, I'll be needing to keep this from spinning. There's no other way with doing it, but there's one way to do it, and it's like a rope trick. But to do that, I gotta know where the cylinder is going to be at top dead center, and to not bend valves with rope. So first, take off the valve cover. There's only 4 bolts holding it, it's really easy. And this gasket also reusable, as the engine did not run, did not heat up. There's no problem reusing it. Comes off with the gasket. You can see everything there. So now you can spin the engine, and this is exhaust. So you want to see when this one, it should be churning. Should be churning from here. Should be churning clockwise. So here it's counterclockwise. So you just spin it until the exhaust valve is right here, until exhaust and intake are both coming at the top, so that way you know that it's at top dead center at the end of exhaust. So now into the spark plug hole, just take some rope, thin rope, and turn the engine back a little bit. And then stick it in there. If you have an impact gun, the flywheel bolt, this isn't necessary. This part is not necessary at all. You can just use impact and zip off that flywheel bolt right away. But as most people, I'd say, don't have the proper tools, this is the way to go. So as you can see now, the engine has nowhere more to spin. You need a partner to help with this, because to loosen the flywheel nut, it's pretty tough.
I thought it was gonna be harder than that. There we go.
And this nut comes off right away. You want to keep this. You don't have to keep this if you're going to be changing this to a and so just lay that all aside. But just take the flywheel off. It's tapered, so it's sitting there really tough. Slide the nut back on, and just so there'd be a little bit space between the flywheel and the nut, so it'd be spinning freely like that. Okay, that's the meat. Now for this next part, this is actually taking off the flywheel. Now you're gonna need a huge hammer or whatever this, I don't know how to say it.
Sledgehammer.
Sledgehammer, yeah. And this just some kind of pry bar or some long screwdriver. Stick it somewhere where it won't bend the case, the aluminum case, and just pry it under. With this, you want to go under and on top. The nut has to be over it. If you don't, you're gonna ruin the threads, and then you're gonna ruin your crank. You're gonna need a new crank, or yeah, whatever. Yeah, pry that under and just beat once with this. Or not once. It takes some time. Okay, there we go. It's loose now. So with this huge one, it's way easier. With a smaller one, it's gonna need way more hits. So just try to find something like this if you're gonna be doing this. And it just comes straight off. The cast flywheel that flies apart. I'm gonna take off random things off of this, which is this whole assembly right here. It holds all the linkages and this throttle stuff. And these are 8 mils too. It's needed. Then You can take off the coil, or you can't. I might just probably leave it on, or maybe I'll just take it off. There's two 8mm also holding it. And just disconnect this connector. There you go. Set that aside. You'll need the coil, and you'll need these. I forgot to state that the valve cover bolts, they're a little different. They're a little longer, although they are the same width and everything, diameter. They're a little longer than the other bolts, but in the cylinder head we're going to remove a little bit of valve train components, which includes the rocker arms,
Valve springs.
no valve springs, they're going to stay in there for now, rocker arms and push rods. The lifters are going to come out later when we're going to take out, open up the case. So right now there's little pins here. What you need to do is remove it from this side and remove them from this side. That way, when they come out, they go that way, because this way they have nowhere to go. So you need to remove that one, and remove that one, and they just come out like that. But one at a time. So you can use 2 screwdrivers and a partner if needed, but it is capable by yourself. See, just like that. Or I actually removed the wrong one for now. So now I'll install it back. That was just an installation one. Okay. Now on the other side. These are a bit more tough to remove. Sometimes you can just use one. And this just comes out. And the rocker arm is free. So don't mess up intake and exhaust. They didn't wear, but I just like to keep it just right. Okay, and just install it how it used to be on the engine. Take out the push rod. This is the intake push rod, and that's on that side. Now this one needs to be taken off. Same thing here for the exhaust. They're exactly the same. I don't know about mixing push rods and rocker arms. They might be exactly the same, but it's riskful, and it's not a good habit as cars and other engines, and engines and other things. You can't mix exhausts and intake. Just get into that habit to set things aside into where they're supposed to be. Exhaust and exhaust. So now the cylinder head is free, and this is basically on it, but I'll probably leave that on. It's free to be taken off. Okay, but actually before that, there's these things. There's this heat shield. Probably. So they are 12mm. You want to loosen the head in a kind of a star pattern, but there's no really star pattern here. Just do it crisscross. Don't loosen one side first and then another, but slowly do it. See, I'm not fully breaking them loose yet. and then you can slowly back them off. Take out the bolts. Be careful with these dowel pins, they will come out. So, and be careful with the head. You don't want to scratch up anything. You want to keep this surface clean and away from anything that can basically destroy it. Also, the head gasket is reusable. Just don't put any dents in it or anything. Just as long as you keep it just in the way that you found it. You can take out these dowel pins. They help put the head back on.
And does it really matter which one you put where? They're
No,
both the same
does
size?
not. They're both the same.
Okay.
And you want to put this on something that's something that is softer than the material of the head. That means you can put on wood or anything, but you don't really want to put on steel, cast iron, or anything. But that's basically a rule with heads. You can put a cast iron head onto an aluminum table, but you can't put it onto anything harder than that. So I'll just find a place for this. For now, it will be right here. That's pretty soft. The head is off. And one note about the head. There are these, I forgot what they're called, but don't flip over the head because they will fall out and then you're going to be looking for them. There are these things that go right on top of the
Little caps.
Yep. You don't want them. You don't want to drop them. You need them. I guess they're lash caps. That's what they are, I guess. So now we're going to take off the case. The case comes off really easy. This is on a lot of YouTube videos. They're just bolts. That's it. And those are 10 millimeter bolts. Yeah, they're tough on there. And this on used engines, the gasket will need to be replaced. Right here, the gasket might not just need to be replaced. It depends how it comes off. But on older ones, on older engines, you might have to pry that off because it's been heated and then cooled, heated and cooled and stuff. So it just really likes to stay on there. But this just comes straight off, just like that. There's going to be some oil in there. So the components inside the case, that's the camshaft, that's the crankshaft. Down there, that we're going to be removing. That's the governor right there. That's the governor arm. And that's where the linkage was tied to. So that's how it was working. It was just keeping it from moving. That's the oil sensor. Some people might not be removing that, but we're going to be putting an air seatbelt rod. And I have experience from earlier that the rod, it doesn't fit with that oil sensor, so we're going to be taking it out also. But right now we're just preparing it for the aftermarket parts. So right now, what needs to be done is you just pull this camshaft straight out. And there you go. We're going to be changing the camshaft, so if you're not, you want to keep it clean and it's oiled. So you just want to put it in a bag and keep it in some cool, dry place. These are the lifters. These are also intake and exhaust. You want to kind of keep it in the hole where it came from with all the parts. So this is exhaust and this is intake. So now, to remove the crankshaft, you got to remove the rod cap bolts. To do that, just spin it till you can see them, and then that size is probably just a 10.
The oil's gonna start leaking out there.
Yeah, to do that, to keep the oil from leaking out, just take some paper towel and just stick it down there while it's going to be horizontal. When you're going to remove the oil sensor, you can then remove all the oil, as it won't be needed. Okay. Yours barely fits. Okay, so you just spin it if it barely fits, and just go in that. Just hold the whole engine from moving, and they come off fairly easy. And you want to slightly detorque one and the other one until they're fully loosened. There's no actual bearings on the inside because the aluminum is so soft that it acts as a bearing for itself. It doesn't destroy the crankshaft. These bolts are usually, you can sometimes change them in between where they come out from, but the cap goes on only one way. The cap just comes off like that. And when taking out the cap, when taking out the rod and piston, just push from the inside up and the piston will come out. Make sure to not scratch the cylinder wall when you're taking it out. So take it out real slow. And there you go, there's your piston and stock rod. Stock piston, stock rod. All these parts are stock. Most people remove their governor without actual taking the whole engine apart, but I'm not that way, so I'll be taking the whole thing apart. That way it is easier and it's more professional. That way you don't have to destroy parts. So now to take off the crankshaft, all you do, push from the other side and watch out on that seal on that side. Take off this nut. That seal just needs to be treated carefully, because if that seal is cut or damaged, then it will be leaking and you will have a bad time. Slide the nut back on, and yeah, and make sure you keep this from in a good storage place where you won't scratch it up. This is not a good example of where you could keep it, but I have no other place right now. So now you can remove the governor linkage arm, and it comes straight out. There's a little washer there also. That washer needs to be removed. There's some grease to keep it there. That grease needs to come out too. Just take a paper towel and wipe some of that off. But this will be all clean before assembly. So now to take that out, people usually just destroy it. There's like clips down there and all, but that all doesn't matter. This just comes out like that. That doesn't matter. You don't want to do it through there. What you actually want to do is take a punch and go from here.
Taking a punch?
Mm-hmm. Take a punch and punch that out right there. So here's the punch. What I do, just place it right in the middle. Don't destroy the case. Just tap it out until it comes out. And there you go. It's a hole there, but we're gonna block it with that same pin. That's why we just disassemble this. It comes out like that. All these garbage parts. And assemble it back in there. And it'll block that hole. So it's one less hole to block, to tap, and all that crap. There's a little rubber washer there too. Not rubber, it's actually metal. Same thing. Just assembling it back. If you go too far, just do the same thing. You can punch it back out until it becomes basically flush. But I need to do it some more. There you go. Okay, now remove your paper towels, and the oil sensor needs to be removed. For that to happen, just cut that wire.
Well, if you're planning to keep the oil sensor, yeah, we're just planning to cut it because the connecting rod is.
We'll be hitting it.
You will be hitting it, yes.
The new connecting rod.
The new connecting rod is the one.
Interference between it. So we just snip that wire.
And just leave that connection in there for now. I mean,
it seals it up. There's no point to make an extra hole to then tap and everything.
It is sealed right now, so currently for us there's no purpose for us to actually take it out. So
and it's weight reduction too. Just kidding, not by much. Now the sensor can go bye-bye, and so can this governor, linkage, and everything. Now you basically got the whole case free from anything. What you want to do is actually just clean it up. Keep it dry. Store it in a nice place. Don't store it outside or under a cover outside. If it's raining constantly where you keep it, then it's not a good thing. Or if there's moisture, humidity, store it inside where there's heat. Just wipe everything down. And keep it away from dust too. You can scratch up cylinder wall, and bearings can get dusty, which will have premature bearing life. And so there, that way this hole is plugged, this hole is plugged, oil sensor is removed. That just leaves an extra connection. Who cares? Now there's only one hole to worry about. That is a 1/4 inch but it has a 20 threads per inch. A set, or just for a 1/4 inch 20, and you can buy one of these that has a little hex thing, and then thread locker, red. What you do, tap it, insert that thing, and then put thread locker in it, and it's good. I've done it before. it works fine. But then whatever falls on the bottom, that's what's going to fall. There's nothing that is going to destroy anything, so you're just going to clean it up after that. Just start out straight and you should be fine. It cuts easy because it's aluminum. Aluminum is a soft metal. These taps are a normal kind of tap, so they're the same diameter throughout the whole thing. So you just stop when you see the tap coming out of the bottom, or start seeing pieces falling out. And then back it off. Just take your what is this called? Whatever it is, paper towel, clean it up, take out as much as you can. Then take brake clean, or yeah, any kind of cleaner. Brake clean is the best for anything. Takes off oil for anything, and it will take the little tiny metal bits from there. So then you can screw it in easily. So now you have this. It's basically bolt, but it's without a head. Screw that in. It might be a little loose, but the thread locker will fix that problem. If you need to use that, use a hex. And just do it about flush. And make sure everything is clean and dry. And take the thread locker. Don't apply too much, but do it where the threads are. You know, seep down. Some of it will seep down, some of it will just stay up top. And set your block, set this block away where it can dry. And the next day it will be all dry. So that is how you basically prepare your block. Now it is all sealed up on the inside. There's no holes to block off. All it needs is assembly, but with aftermarket parts. We took out stock stuff and we're just gonna have an assembly video also.